Beer Healer here. Now, if you like my videos, please tag a friend or share them with all your mates. That'll really help me out. Cheers. Now, there's this little thing going on in the beer blogging community at the moment with the videos and all that sort of thing where Nitch, this is Nitch, she started a thing which was the frequently asked beer questions, asking you to answer these questions as a beer blogger and then share it amongst all your friends. So here you go, Nitch. Here's my frequently asked beer questions. So how did I get into this beer geeking stuff? Well, about 7 or so years ago, I started working for one of the big brews in Australia, Lion, and I looked after their craft beer brands in Tasmania, my home state, for about 3 or 4 years. So I got a really great introduction into some great craft beer labels, James Squire, Little Creatures, and White Rabbit, and got to taste some fantastic beers that took me away from what I've been drinking for the majority of my adult life, which was sort of pale, mainstream Australian lager. Once I left Lion, my passion for craft beer did not subside. So I got into the shed here and I built myself a little brewery, started brewing. I started up the beer blog, and then more recently I've started filming videos and sharing my thoughts with a whole bunch of subscribers and followers. I absolutely love craft beer. I'm very passionate about it, and I just love to have conversations with people about it. Now, more recently I've sort of started to really work on my writing, seeking some feedback from other beer bloggers and other writers to see where I'm at with my writing, and one day I would love to write a beer article for a magazine somewhere. So I absolutely love it. I'm very passionate for the cause, and I love to talk about it with everybody. So I guess that's what I'm here for, is to have conversations about craft beer. My old man says there's no such thing as a bad beer, but I kind of disagree. Look, I have lots of favourites. I can't really put my finger on one, but for me it's more about the experiences I've shared while drinking the beers than about the beer itself. So the first one is the Big Kahuna from Kona Brewing. And I shared that on Waikiki with a mate of mine, Andrew, when he was telling me about his plans to start Batch Brewing Company. And just by chance he asked me if I wanted to be involved, so I bloody jumped at the chance. Or what about the time that I first tried Sierra Nevada Pale Ale? Not Sierra Nevada Pale Ale that we get here in Australia, which is sort of like a couple of weeks or months old. This was fresh as, in Los Angeles, off the tap, and it absolutely blew my mind. Or what about jumping into a cab in Vietnam where I took all the family out to the inner suburbs somewhere, about 20 minutes out from where we're staying, to go and visit Beer Craft Artisan Ales, this small little pub where my wife and I, who is not a beer drinker, got to share one of the pale ales off the tap there in the searing heat while the kids sucked on a couple of Sprites over in the corner, and we just had a great time sharing a beer and loving the experience. Probably the last one for me would be Little Creatures Pale Ale, because I enjoyed that beer the day that my daughter was born. So for me, it's not necessarily a favourite beer, it's more about the experiences that come along with the beer. One beer that I could have for the rest of my life, well, it would have to be something that I could session on, because I'm not really interested in drinking like a barrel-aged barley wine for the rest of my life, or even though I do love Pirate Life Double IPA, I probably couldn't drink on that for the rest of my life either, because I'd probably just spend half my life being drunk, which is no good. Nah, give me Founders All Day IPA. I bloody love this beer. This beer for me led the way for all the session IPAs that are in the market right now, and Founders just seem to find that great balance between alcohol and flavour and the aromas of the hops, and in my opinion they just nailed it. So this will be the one, the Founders All Day IPA for the rest of my life. That's not a bad thing. How can I drink so much and stay healthy? Well, am I really that healthy? I don't know. I'm in my 40s now, started to get a little bit of a beer gut, or so my wife tells me, so I'm probably not as healthy as I was in my 30s, but look, I still try to look after myself, and I probably just have to work a little bit harder to keep the weight off these days. But look, to be honest, I really don't drink that much. I try to keep my drinking to the weekends. I don't really drink during the weeknights. If I do have a drink, it's probably the one beer that I'm reviewing for that week that I happen to do during the weeknight, but I'm very conscious of that. I don't drink to get drunk or anything like that. I drink because I enjoy the taste, and I absolutely love craft beer. So I'm no alcoholic. I couldn't stand the hangovers. What's my favourite ingredient? Well, I love chocolate and vanilla in stouts and porters. I just think it's amazing how you can mix all those tastes to get together with something really nice and decadent in a beautiful chocolate stout. I also love the way that brewers can get all those aromas that they punch out of those hops when they chuck them into the beers. I absolutely love that, and my favourite of all is when you get those nice smash-in-your-face tropical fruit aromas. Just sensational. Do I brew? Yeah, I do actually. I set up the brewery as I left Lion because I thought that, I'd spent all this time in the beer industry, had all the knowledge of like ingredients and the processes and the beer styles. I thought, yeah, I can get out there and brew. Yeah, no worries. Shit, I was dead wrong. It was I brewed around 20 beers so far in the last sort of 2 years, and I reckon I've probably had 2 or 3 that I've really been happy with. Some of them have been okay, and some of them I've had to chuck out, whether it be because they got infected because I didn't sort of keep everything clean enough, or whether it was just shit beer. So I take my hat off to brewers because it is not easy to make great and consistent beer. I spent a day brewing up in Marrickville at Batch Brewing Company just recently and had an absolutely sensational time. But what I was really amazed by was how scientific and exact it has to be to get that level of quality and consistency when you're in a commercial brewery. You can't just slap some grains in some water and then walk away, whack in some hops, and expect it's going to be a sensational beer. You just got to go to that next level. It's way more than anything I've done in the home brew. And so again, I take my hat off to brewers because you guys are bloody amazing. What was my first beer? Well, I'm ashamed to say that when I was 16 and I first tried a beer at my brother's 21st, it was a beer brewed by Cascade down here in Hobart called the 2.2% ABV Tiger Head Light Lager. And there are photos and evidence of me being very drunk off drinking these 2.2% beers, and I had a killer hangover the next day. Look, I've never been a massive drinker, and my friends can attest to that. Probably not my best moment, but I guess you've got to start somewhere. Who do I look up to in the beer community? Look, there are so many great characters in the beer community, and I love hearing about everything that they do and reading about them and all that sort of thing. I've met a whole bunch of great people on my craft beer journey so far, and I admire others from afar. One of the guys that I really do admire is Ken Grossman, and I read his book and thoroughly enjoyed it. If you find it, pick it up, buy it, read it. It's absolutely sensational. I just love the fact how he started from pretty much nothing and put his balls on the line to follow his dream of creating a brewery out of pretty much spare parts. It was an amazing, amazing story. Look, I also love now the fact that he's big and successful and his brewery is big and successful. He still gives back to the brewing community and sort of hosts events and invite the smaller brewers in to get amongst it, really. And I love the fact that the community, even though he's big now and his brewery is big, the community doesn't sort of shame him for being successful and big. They all welcome him with open arms and love to get involved in the events that he gets involved with. Look, I'm sure there are countless other brewers around the world that are starting off small breweries, putting their balls on the line to make their dreams come true. The mums and the dads and the guys that are the entrepreneurs that just want to have a crack, that are just putting everything into starting their brewery. I also admire all of them because I've never had the balls to be able to do that and start up my own brewery. I would love to. I'm probably not the world's greatest brewer, so that's probably going to hamper me a little bit. But just love the fact that people just love craft beer so much that they chase their dreams and do it with such passion. So that's me. That's my frequently asked beer questions. Really enjoyed doing this. Thanks, Nitch, for challenging the beer community to answer these. Anytime you want to drop by here, beerhealer.com and say g'day or send me an email. Check out my Facebook page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my YouTube. I'm all over the place. I do this for the love of beer. I don't do this for any money. Maybe I get a few sample beers here and there, but mate, I just love beer so much and the community and craft beer in general that I just love it. I just love it. What can I say? Anyway, until we talk again in the Beer Healer Shed or wherever, cheers to great beers.